Hello everyone and welcome back to another average review. And today we're going back in time to review the Toybiz Tobey Maguire Super-poseable Spider-Man from the first Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie. Now, skipping over the packaging, since, I got this figure loose, as you can tell, and, let's go straight into the sculpting and paintwork, and to say the least, I'm a pretty big fan. Just looking at the mask is pretty much a perfect recreation of the original, Tobey Maguire Spider-Man mask from the Sam Raimi movies. The web pattern, the painting on the web lines, the eyes, just the colors of this entire figure perfectly match Spider-Man from the first movie. The dark red and dull blue, while certainly subdued, are perfectly accurate to how they looked in the movies. I've always loved the silver web lines on the Raimi suit. I always thought it was so unique, and I like how in this figure, the spider logo is colored black so that it stands out more against the webbing. I love how the shape of the eyepieces are sort of McFarlane and how, pointy and big and triangular they are. And overall, the actual paintwork is very nice. Look at how intricate the paintwork on the hands are. Just all the web lines on there so tightly packed together. It's really nice. And speaking of things that look nice related to the paint job, you can actually see on the inside of his hands that there's a web shooter sculpted and painted on, which is pretty dang nice. I also love, the sculpting on the blue parts. All the texture is just really nice. And this was all hand sculpted. They didn't have the fancy computer sculpting that we have today. So, that's all fantastic. I love the back spider too. It's super accurate. And, overall, this figure is really nice looking. But in other ways, it is of its time. This is more related to articulation, but the bicep swivel really does break up the sculpt. Just look at that. Also, some of the anatomy looks a bit off. Look at the way these hips look. That's a bit ridiculous, don't you think? Still, though, this Spidey is still pretty fantastic for its time, and also still holds up fairly well today. But hey, let's see if this figure can do whatever a spider can in terms of articulation. Now, he's got a swivel in the neck and a ball joint in the head, which is very wobbly. It's pretty much a bobblehead. Unfortunately, while he does get up, he doesn't really get any amount of down. In fact, the lowest he can get is still kind of looking up a bit. He, of course, does get swivel in the head, but it's also from the neck. There is a bit of tilt, too. Now, his shoulders can, of course, spin all the way around and hinge up a bit, but it's less than 90 degrees. I mentioned the bicep swivel earlier. While it cuts up the sculpt a lot, it does get a pretty good amount of range. The figure's got double-jointed elbows and a forearm swivel, along with a wrist hinge that goes up and down, and a similar hinge in the fingers, so that he can make the classic Spidey thwip, which is pretty nice, although it does suck that a figure of Spider-Man can't, make a fist. He's got a diaphragm joint and a waist cut. He gets this far forward, but unfortunately it doesn't stay that far. He does get a little bit of back, a tiny bit of side to side, and not really any turning around in the diaphragm, but perfectly good twist in the waist. He's got swivel hinge style ball jointed hips that kick forward about 90 degrees and get a perfect split, which is pretty dang good for an acrobatic character like Spider-Man. He's of course got the standard thigh cut and double jointed knees, along with boot swivel, ankle hinge forward and back, ankle pivot side to side, and the Toybiz toe articulation. So overall, in a lot of ways, this Spidey does have pretty nice articulation. He gets a 90-degree kick forward, a perfect split, pretty good range in the knees and elbows, but there are some flaws, mainly the torso articulation and the lack of movement in the neck. Moving on to the figure comparisons, though, and starting off with the standard male and female comparisons for these reviews, we have the Hasbro Marvel Legends Renew Your Vows, Spider-Man, and Spinneret. And as you can see, figures like this from Toybiz are a bit smaller than modern Marvel Legends. Speaking of modern Marvel Legends, though, we have to bring out Hasbro's modern version of the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man from Spider-Man No Way Home. And I actually think this figure does do some things better. Like, for example, the articulation is overall better than this figure. And also, stuff like thwippy hands and, alternate hands are honestly a lot better than the Toybiz finger articulation. But of course, this old Toybiz one does do some stuff better. Like, for example, obviously, the color scheme. But still, I do actually really like both of these figures. But hey, since we brought out Tobey from No Way Home, we might as well bring out Andrew and Tom from the same movies. Specifically, the Tom Holland Spidey with that final swingsuit. Although, for some of Tobey's villains that were featured in No Way Home, we have the Green Goblin and Dr. Octopus by Toybiz. Still a little miffed that I don't have the helmet for that Green Goblin. And also, here's Sandman from the Hasbro No Way Home line, and Sandman from the Toybiz Spider-Man Classics line. But speaking of Spider-Man Classics, here's the Todd McFarlane Spider-Man from Series 1 of that legendary line. This is pretty much the figure that kicked off the entire Marvel Legends line, and as you can see, Toybiz clearly took some inspiration from their own figure for this Spider-Man movie one, which, yeah, it works. It's a pretty good Spider-Man comic figure, and it works well as a sort of base for a Spider-Man movie figure. I say this because the only real similarity is, well, just one's on the surface, since there's no actual reused parts from the original Spider-Man classics. Although, just for fun, here's the Toybiz live-action figures of Daredevil from his solo movie and Mr. Fantastic from the 2005 Fantastic Four movie. I actually think these guys fit pretty well together, even if Daredevil's articulation is very limited and he's clearly just wearing a red leather jacket with 2 DDs on it. I will admit, it does look kinda cool. Who am I kidding? It looks very cool. Although, to finish off the live-action comparisons, we have the best character in any version of Spider-Man's mythos, J. Jonah Jameson, specifically the Toybiz version from the first Spider-Man movie, and the Hasbro version from Spider-Man No Way Home. Although, as is tradition, here's the Toybiz Tobey Maguire Spider-Man with Hit Monkey and Goliath. Now, in terms of accessories, I unfortunately have to admit I don't own the one accessory this Spidey came with, which was a pretty dang cool gargoyle display base, which even had a little string you can hang Spidey from and then watch him climb back up. So, yeah, that's a bit of a shame. But hey, guess what? I have an even bigger and cooler gargoyle for this Spider-Man to perch on. So, take that, I guess? Alright, now it's time for the part of the video everyone hates, the price. Now, usually on eBay, I see this Spider-Man loose by himself going for around $40 or $50, which is, pretty dang pricey. Luckily, I found this guy loose at a local flea market for a bit cheaper than that, around $30. Now, is that really expensive for just this figure on its own? Yeah, there's no going around it. But hey, it's significantly less expensive than what I usually see it going for, so it's still a win in my book. So, overall, what are my thoughts on this figure? Well, overall, I really like it. Yeah, it's over 20 years old, but in a lot of ways, it still holds up. The sculpting and paintwork is fantastic, and a fair bit of the articulation is, well, ahead of its time, to say the least. but there are some aspects of this figure that are definitely of its time. Some of the weird sculpting choices, like the really wide hips or the bicep swivel, along with the finger articulation and lacking torso and head articulation, well, yeah, they're definitely of the era. But still, this figure is pretty dang good. And of course, it's a figure from the Raimi Spider-Man trilogy. So of course, the price for it is pretty high. Even if I did praise this figure a lot, the price is, well, just that, pricey. Still, I got it for fairly cheap compared to the prices on eBay, and overall, factoring everything in, I'm gonna give the Toybiz Spider-Man 1 Super-poseable Spider-Man an 8 out of 10. Yeah, it's pretty old and of its time in some areas, but in a lot of ways, I feel that you could still, fudge this guy into a Marvel movie collection, and he'd fit perfectly in with a lot more modern figures. For those of you still watching, well, first of all, thank you, obviously. Second of all, if you're wondering where I'm gonna be, well, I'm actually gonna be on vacation until Thursday. So I actually had this video and another video or two cooked up for, well, while I'm on vacation. So yeah, stay tuned for that. Also, hey, thanks for watching, and have a great day, 'cause you deserve it.